Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week. All the oceans in the world make up about 70% of the entirety of our planet Earth. So it does seem pretty understandable that a significant percentage of the world's mysteries would be caught laying in the bellies of these great bodies. For centuries, humankind has wondered what these waters really have hidden in them, and with the uprise of technology, they're only now being explored extensively. So, what has mankind found that might interest you? Stick around to number 1 to find out why this particular discovery could mean the end of the planet as we know it. Number 10. 2,400-year-old boat. There's not much of an anomaly when you talk about boats and seas, boats on seas, and boats in the sea. But for this boat, the age is all the difference. More than a mile below the surface of the Black Sea off the coast of Bulgaria, an unprecedented discovery was made in 2018. A wooden vessel that was calculated to be about 2,400 years old. And here's the catch: the entire thing was perfectly intact. Well, how come? The name Black Sea is not just for the fancy and ominous air around it. The massive water body is actually well known for being extremely preservative. This is due to the fact that once you go below 600 feet, there is absolutely no oxygen. The 75-foot-long vessel was so perfectly preserved that its features could be identified as the same vessel seen on ancient Greek vases. A small part of the vessel was carbon dated to around the 5th century BC. Imagine that. Number 9. ZHEMCHUG Canyon. You've probably heard of the Grand Canyon in Arizona in the United States, but here is a canyon you might have never heard of, but you don't need to know about. The ZHEMCHUG Canyon is an underwater canyon located in the Bering Sea. If you don't know where that is the marginal sea of the Pacific Ocean between Europe and the Americas. This canyon is so deep that it makes the Grand Canyon look so small. The underwater discovery was marked to be about 20% longer and deeper than its Arizona counterpart, making it the world's largest. It's a shame it's under the sea. You might have been able to hop right there and go scaling the thing. Number 8. Baltic Sea Anomaly. The Baltic Sea Anomaly already sounds like something you would hear in a futuristic sci-fi movie, and if you think so, then you're actually not far from the truth. This object was discovered in 2011 by a deep-sea diving team called the Ocean X Team. How original. Anyway, the Ocean X Team came across a large object in the Bothnia region of the Baltic Sea, hence why it's called the Baltic Sea Anomaly. If you don't know where the Baltic Sea is, it is a Mediterranean Sea of the Atlantic Ocean. This huge object was hundreds of feet beneath the surface of the sea and had a striking resemblance to a missing Hollywood alien movie prop. Star Wars, to be precise. Divers claim that when they put any electronic device within a certain radius of the object, the readings and devices started going haywire or simply went off. If that doesn't sound like something alien-related, then I don't know what would. Number 7. Ancient Pill. Over the centuries, a great number of things have been discovered from eras long ago. Clothing, architecture, writing, you name it. Those before us have always left something behind for us to find. What you would not expect to find from bygone eras, though, would probably be a pill. That's right, you heard it here, an ancient pill, and even more shocking, underwater. A shipwreck from no earlier than 2,000 years ago was found near the remains of the Etruscan city of Poplonia. Most of it was, as you would expect, wrecked, but there were a couple of tin jars, wine vessels, and bowls in the inner counterparts of this wreckage. There were also medical equipment and tools found among those things. Researchers found a tightly sealed vessel containing flat circular tabs stacked on top of each other. Upon further research, it was concluded that these tabs were medicinal tablets containing zinc, pine resin, pine, beeswax, and other components, many of which were ancient components used to treat eye problems. How cool is that? Number 6. Ancient Computer. If you take a trip down memory lane circa middle school or earlier, you might remember that you were taught that Charles Babbage and his computing mechanism were the origins of computers. That, however, was a lie. The first computer was actually the Antikythera mechanism, the first ever analog computer. It was discovered in yet another shipwreck in 1901 off the Greek island of Antikythera, the edge of the Aegean Sea. This ancient astronomical calculator was used by the Greeks to follow the movements of the stars and planets in the sky, tell time and seasons, and even possibly predict the future. So, now that you know computers did not stem from Babbage and Ada Lovelace, we would totally understand if you asked your middle school for a refund of all that money. Number 5. The Titanic. Not that one. The Titanic we're talking about is not the one with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio yelling, "Rose," and "Jack," and "I'll never let go," and stuff. I don't know, I didn't actually see the movie. Although, if it were what we were discussing, tell us in the comment section down below if you thought the board could have carried both Rose and Jack. Please, I really didn't see the movie, so I don't know what happened. Anyway, this Titanic is the real-life version of the Winslet Films incarnation, which was discovered in 1985, years after it met its end in its collision with an iceberg in 1912. After decades of combing the North Atlantic Ocean, the RMS Titanic was finally located about 400 miles south of Newfoundland, Canada. Aboard the wreckage, many things were found, although many deteriorated and nearly unsalvageable. The haunting tragedy still lingered. Researchers and salvage operation officers even claimed to have found the shoes of the hundreds of people aboard the majestic ship. The bodies had obviously disintegrated, but the leather used to make the shoes had stuck it out through the many years, leaving that haunting remembrance of the 1912 tragedy. Number 4. Hidden River. Have you ever criticized SpongeBob for having rivers and pools under the sea? If so, why? It's just a cartoon. Calm down. But this entire concept of rivers underwater is going to blow your mind. Located in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, there's a secret underwater river called Cenote Angelita, which in Spanish means Little Angel. The Cenote Angelita is a unique place to see where a thin layer of hydrogen sulfate separates the salt water from the fresh water above it, allowing scuba diving enthusiasts to swim along this underwater creation, which looks a lot like a regular river would on the ground. This site is complete with its own waterfalls, tree branches, and other things surrounding it like regular land rivers. SpongeBob did turn out to be logical after all. Who would have thought? Number 3. Apollo mission engines. When a rocket launches off the face of the Earth, the engines used to power the launch are shut off the rocket and drop down onto Earth since their function is done and they do weigh quite a lot. The Apollo 11 mission started in July 1969 with the aim of putting the first man on the moon. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon and planted the first ever flag on the lunar body. It was a giant leap for mankind. Several years after that remarkable moment in history, none other than the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, decided it was time to find at least one of the engines of the Apollo 11 mission that fell back to the Earth after launch. Bezos and his team recovered components of 2 F-1 rocket engines that were used to launch the missions to the moon from the ocean floor. However, parts were terribly damaged, and the serial numbers that could have been used to identify which missions the engines were a part of had deteriorated or gone missing. Still, they were pretty confident that those engines launched the missions. They just didn't know which. Now it's time for today's best pick. This picture was sent in by a subscriber. If you find a picture that you would like us to feature, make sure to send it over. You might just be lucky enough to get it on our next video. Number 2. Cleopatra's Palace. 1400 years ago in Alexandria, Egypt, there was a terrible earthquake and a huge tsunami that shook the entire coast of the city, Alexandria. Even the mightiest of civilians could not have weathered that storm, and unfortunately, the entire island sank into the sea, taking down Queen Cleopatra's Palace in Alexandria's old lighthouse, which was once one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Centuries after, professional divers and archaeologists ventured into the deep, dark unknown in search of the marvelous structures that once housed these ancient people. 10 years of planning and expedition mapping went by before they finally found the city wreckage. Divers discovered the remains of this fallen city, with most of the architecture still surprisingly intact. If you're a Greek mythology fan, you might be tempted to wonder if this is the lost city of Atlantis that the world has wondered about for ages. This, however, is not. Sorry, but the fallen Alexandrian city does come pretty close. The walls were in pristine condition, with columns and pillars somewhat erect and unbroken, as well as many structures and busts of the queen herself and broken sphinxes all across the ocean floor. It's as though the city never died. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works. Number 1. The current movement of tectonic plates. It doesn't need to be said that the Earth has changed since we got here. A lot. The ozone layer has thinned, the glaciers are melting, and the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates have been spreading farther apart in recent years, with the North American plate moving westward. The impressive occurrence can be seen both on land and by diving deep in between the two plates somewhere around Iceland. Several underwater enthusiasts, photographers, and professional scuba divers had ventured to this important point on the Earth. Alexander Mustard, a diver and marine biologist who explored the magnificent yet mind-boggling area, recounts his experience as an incredible one. He noted that visitors can become nauseated as a result of the sheer walls and clear water. Though the future cannot be completely foreseen, researchers can make predictions based on the current rate of plate motion, which is about 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch per year. Here we are at the end of this video. Thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing content from 100M.